What's up, you filthy fight fans? Welcome back. Hopefully you guys had a great weekend, and hopefully you guys had a great Valentine's Day if you guys celebrated Valentine's Day. If not, throw it out the window and let's keep on moving. Anyways, I'm back again with that recap and, of course, that breakdown. So, before we get into all that, let's first get through this housekeeping. And if this is your first time here, guys, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Also, do me a favor, mash that like button, and let's get the filthy report out there so we can beat that YouTube algorithm. Other than that, guys, let's jump into this fight talk. Now, I don't know about you guys, but this weekend's fights were amazing. A couple of different things to go over, but of course, I gotta jump in with first. You guys probably didn't get to see the Bobby Green and Jim Miller fight. Reason being is they weren't even able to make it to the fight card. The reason of that was because Bobby did not make weight, and it's showing that weight cutting is still a huge problem. People are still trying to cut way too much weight. If you guys didn't catch the weigh-ins, Bobby almost literally passed out on the scale. Not going to go deep into that right now, but there has to be something done about the weight cutting. I would hopefully hope that they would open up a couple more weight classes, but we won't know. I don't see it being handled this year. It's been an ongoing thing that's been going on in MMA and combat sports for a while now, and it seems to be hindering the fighters more than helping the fighters. So hopefully they solve it. We'll see how it goes and how things play out, and hopefully that match gets put back on another fight card later on this year. First off, guys, let's jump into this Belal Muhammad fight versus Diego Lima. Now, you guys have to understand, the reason I'm talking about this fight, and I didn't get to talk to you guys about it when I was doing the breakdown, was that Belal Muhammad is one of those welterweights that nobody's really talking about, and he's slowly creeping through the division and just freaking smoking people out there. Now, giving you guys just a reference, Diego Lima's brother is Douglas Lima, the Bellator welterweight champion. So you have to understand his style of fighting should be on par with championship level. But of course, it didn't get to show in this fight. Belal Muhammad never let Diego really get any offense off or ever getting his feet set. Always keeping him on the back foot, always pushing the pace, and just basically working through every single thing to keep a high-paced fight, to keep the cardio going, to basically tire out Diego Lima and catching the freaking win. Now, the reason I'm saying this is you guys got to keep your eyes on Belal Muhammad. He looks like he's going to be breaking into that top 10 division, and he's already calling out Li Jieling. And I wouldn't be amazed to see that fight. That fight's actually a really decent fight. I would think that it would really go, and we'll get into that more when we start to break down whenever that fight ends up on a fight card. I'm pretty sure Dana and them are going to go with that one. But like I said before, keep your eyes on the lookout for Belal Muhammad. All right, guys. And another fight I have to jump into and pay homage to would have to be the Julian Marquez versus Maki Vitello. I understand I didn't go over that in the breakdown with you guys, but this is one that I have to bring to your attention just because of how the fight went. With that being said, Maki is a normal fighter that is a person that brings bombs to the cage. He either goes out on his shield or he puts a fighter out. So with that, Julian Marquez is a fighter that literally has been out since 2018 because he had a critical injury, and he's basically just came back and he was fighting through. And as you guys, if you guys were able to catch a fight in the first round, Maki was just giving it to him. It looked like Julian was going to get put out of his, get his lights put out right there in the first round, but he was able to bounce back, fight through some adversity, and was able to really damage Maki in the third round and literally come across with an anaconda submission and getting Maki out of there. Now, the reason I'm talking to you guys about this is don't count Julian Marquez out and always be looking for him on the next fight card. It looks like he's getting some really good training out there with James Krause now, and he's ready to go and try to go on for a title shot and trying to break into that top 10. So we'll see how he goes and see who they toss him next. Can't wait to see his next fight. All right, guys, now let's get to this co-main event, which will be Macy Barber versus Alexa Grosso. Now, this fight didn't play out at all how I thought it was going to go. I thought Macy would be able to come out with the win. And as you guys know, Alexa Grosso came out with the win. Now, with that being said, I do like that we are seeing Macy Barber be a little bit more humble. She's not being so much outspoken and brash about how she wants to be the youngest champion and everything. Now she's more about the journey. But the one thing I did notice is her coming back off of injury after she blew out her ACL. She seemed to have a little bit of ring rust. She was off. She didn't really start fighting her normal style until she got to the third round. And Alexa Grosso was basically pushing her to the pace and just outboxing her and outclassing her on the feet, showing that Alexa Grosso has some really good boxing. But I did notice there were a lot of holes in Alexa Grosso's basically her fighting style. There, she still has a lot of gaping holes that she needs to cinch up, but we are seeing that her striking is improving. She's showing that she has that crisp, cutthroat Mexican style that she's gonna stand and just bang with you and meet you right in the middle and ready to throw. Now, the problem that I saw with Macy Barber was that she was more throwing a lot more power shots and just winging her shots and literally swinging at air. Alexa Grosso wasn't even in boxing range or kickboxing range, and Macy was just throwing with no caution, trying to just catch Alexa Grosso. But Alexa Grosso was able to basically pitter patter her throughout the whole first 2 rounds, and getting into the third round to link up and basically lock in the decision and take the win. Now, we'll see how it goes. I don't see Macy Barber falling too much. I do see Alexa Grosso moving up, but we'll see how it goes. There is sort of like a logjam with the 125 flyweight division. So we'll see where she's going to get the toss to next, but I still can't wait to see Alexa Grosso in her next match, and hopefully Macy Barber is able to bounce back. Now, with all that being said, got to get to this main event. It's going to be Gilbert Burns versus Kamaru Usman. Now, there's a lot to go over this fight because I feel like Kamaru Usman is still an underrated fighter that people always seem to overlook. And I feel like that's why he screamed out, "Now put some respect on my name." Now, if you guys haven't already heard that Kamaru Usman retained his title and is still the welterweight champion for the UFC. Now, the reason I'm speaking of Kamaru Usman so much about this is that a lot of people overlook that he's actually an undefeated fighter. With that win, he just surpassed GSP in the most wins in the welterweight division, not the most title defenses, but the most wins, basically stamping him as a GOAT in the welterweight division. Now, there's only so much more that Kamaru can really do to show people how much he's done. He's pretty much almost cleaned out the division. And I'm not talking with just title defenses. I'm just talking with just all of his wins. He's almost pretty much cleaned out the division of the tops. He only has a few more fights, and I really don't see... there's not that many other fighters for him to pick up and still continue to go on. I think there might be like 1 or 2 more matches, and then we're going to have to see what they're going to do with Kamaru Usman. I understand that they are setting up the next George Masvidal fight against him, but let's get into this fight and start really breaking it down to show you guys what I'm talking about. Now, you guys have to understand there was a lot of adversity in this fight that came up. One beating... All right, guys, now let's get into this main event fight, which is going to be Gilbert Burns versus Kamaru Usman. Now, as I go through this fight, there's a lot to go over. So first, let's go ahead and break down the fight just to give you guys an understanding. With Kamaru Usman, he went in showing people that he improved his striking and he came out to make this a stand-up war. He understood where Gilbert Burns had the best, being that he was a very high, phenomenal, high accolade jiu-jitsu champion who has a really strong ground game, and he is heavy-handed and has really heavy hands in both of his hands. He's able to put you out with just one shot. Now, the reason I'm paying so much homage to Kamaru Usman is because he's still a fighter that's overlooked by a lot of people. I'm pretty sure that a lot of people don't know that actually Kamaru Usman is an undefeated champion. Yes, I am saying he is an undefeated champion, and meaning that he hasn't lost a single match in the UFC. Now, the other thing is he's also surpassing GSP in wins in the welterweight division, meaning that he's now the welterweight king who's holding down the division with the most wins in the division. Now, understand that doesn't mean he has the most title defenses in the welterweight division. What I'm saying is he has the most wins in the welterweight division. We'll go on and see if he's going to be able to beat GSP with the title defenses. We'll see from there. But with that being said, guys, there's not that much for him to do in the welterweight division anymore. He's pretty much cleaned out the division, not even with title defenses, just with the matches he took to get to the title. His accolades are amazing. And to understand the adversity that he dealt with in this fight, meaning this, he fought one of his training partners, which was a close friend of his. When I mean that close friend, like him and his family, both of their families hang out together. Their kids go to school together. They've each cornered each other in different fights. They came from the same fight camp. They built the fight camp together. Gilbert Burns was actually Kamaru's jiu-jitsu coach. That is a ton of adversity to understand that you're taking in, being a champion, walking into that cage, understanding that this guy knows everything about me. He knows my good and my bad. To go through that and then also to take it and leave the camp that you were built with, where you joined and grew up through and trained at and developed your fighting style at, and go to a whole new camp and rebuild yourself and get ready for this match. There's a lot that went on there. But the one thing I loved about Kamaru Usman is you can tell that he's a very intelligent fighter and has a really high fight IQ, because his ground game is pretty much locked up. Do I see him getting submitted? It's hard to say that you would ever see him get submitted, especially going up against a fighter like Gilbert Burns. Now, I understand that Gilbert Burns didn't really get him to the floor, and Kamaru didn't even play with him on the ground. But that tells you the high level IQ that he has about fighting, because he wouldn't even give Gilbert the opportunity to get him to the floor and try to submit him, because he knew that the only way he would get on the floor with him is if he was able to stay in top control, but he wouldn't even give him that advantage. Now, the other reason I'm saying his fight IQ is high is because he went to go to Evolution in Colorado and train with Trevor Whitman. Now, do you guys understand? Trevor Whitman is a skilled kickboxer and boxer trainer, and he showed what he could basically come up with for Kamaru, and his whole talks throughout the whole fight, telling Kamaru that he is a champion because of that jab. Kamaru's won that fight basically completely off of that jab, because his jab was pinpoint and stiff and was able to shoot out every single time and always returning right back to his chin to make sure he was covered. Now, the other reason that I'm saying that he is also an amazing champion is because he fought back with adversity. In the first round, Gilbert literally put it on him and was able to hit him with a heavy shot, knocking him off of his balance and putting him to the floor, and he was rocked. But instead of basically trying to chase after Gilbert to get the next shot in, to get him back for the shot that he gave him, he held his composure, kept his hands up, kept his feet moving, and was able to get the cobwebs shaked out and come back and put it on him. And was able to put it on Gilbert so bad that he was able to knock him down and literally ground and pound him out into submission, basically getting the TKO win over Gilbert. Now, the other conversation I want to have about this, guys, is what else do you guys see for him? I understand that they're setting up the fight with George Masvidal, but after that, I mean, you can throw him to Leon Edwards. I don't really see a reason to throw him to Leon Edwards, because I get it. Leon is basically next in line for a title shot, but he's already beat Leon, and you could even make the statement like, oh, okay, but Leon's a totally different fighter. So is Kamaru. And it doesn't seem like Kamaru took any step back. It seems that he's just learning and getting improving and better, getting more and more better. Now he's just sitting with Trevor Whitman, and he's going to be working on his striking. Now, the only thing that can scare me about this is if Kamaru turns into the normal wrestler that ends up falling in love with his hands and forgets all about his wrestling. Not saying that he's going to forget how to wrestle, but he only trusts in his hands, and then he makes the wrong decision to go up against a really well-skilled striker. Now, with me, I'm thinking the next thing for Kamaru is maybe one or two fights. It would be the George Masvidal rematch and the Leon Edwards rematch, and then I would suggest that he would probably go to middleweight because there's nothing left for him in the welterweight division. Now, he could be one of those dominant champions that just holds onto the belt and just keeps beating and beating. But you all understand that starts to make the division stale. And it starts to make the champion stale because he seems to fall out of interest of fighting. Take a look at John Jones. That's just the way it goes. But with that, guys, you guys now know that it is in still Kamaru Usman. I can't wait to see what's the next fight for him and for Gilbert Burns. Hopefully he bounces back. We'll see what if he's gonna make a decision to stay in the welterweight division or if he's gonna drop back down to 155 and try to get up into a title shot contention in the 155 division. Now, with that being said, guys, let's get into the next fight card, which is gonna be, of course, Derek Lewis versus Curtis Blaydes. Now, on the prelims, you might see a couple of fighters on there that you might know, Chas Skelly, Jared Gordon, and also Luis Pena. But, of course, this is one of those fight cards where they're just going to be moving people through the division. So I'm just going to be talking about what's going to be at the top of that prelim card, which is going to be Andre Arlovski versus Tom Aspinall. Now, this fight is a pretty decent match. If you guys don't know, Andre Arlovski is like sneaky, being a little sneaky underneath there and just steadily building up more and more wins as he climbs up the division. Now, do I see him jumping in there and going on for a champion title shot run? I don't know. I will admit that I do think that Arlovski is now getting a little bit punchy. I feel like his chin isn't really there anymore, but he's now falling into that more of a veteran style of like Alistair Overeem, where he's using his head more, stretching out the fight longer, doesn't mind going to decisions, will try to throw bombs and try to get you out of there, but he uses his footwork and his movement to get around the cage and basically pitter patter and take you all the way to the later rounds to tiring out the younger guys until they're not able to deal with them and he'll either TKO them or get a decision. Now with Tom is a really avid boxer. He does have kind of a good wrestling game, but do I feel like it's a little bit too much for Tom right now? Kinda, but he could catch Andre with that one shot. Who knows? But with that, I'm going to be going with Andre Arlovski, of course. Can't go without going with Andre Arlovski. The Pitbull always seems to eke out that decision, so we'll go with that one. Now, moving on to the main card, make sure you guys catch the opener because it's going to be Phil Hawes. Phil Hawes is a devastating middleweight that has some freaking fire in his hands, and he is fast. So make sure you guys catch the opening on that card. It's going to be Phil Hawes. Guys, moving into this co-main event, on this main card, you got Caitlin Verde versus Yana Kasakuya. Now, these are phenomenal bantamweight females, and they are ones that bring a fight pace like none other. I hope and I pray that this will probably be fight of the night, so make sure you don't miss this co-main event. You got Caitlin Verde, who has a very good ground game, but is phenomenal at her striking. And Yasuko Sakanya is a Muay Thai fighter that you never want to see pushing somebody on the back foot because she loves to throw that high kick and get that person out of there quickly. Now, who am I going with this fight? I'm going to have to go with Vera. She's nasty, always looks for a submission, is always looking for a knockout punch, is never taking a back step, loves to come forward and just make it a dog fight. So make sure you catch Caitlin Verde in that fight, and I can't wait to see how that plays out. Now, with all that being said, of course, we got to talk about the main event, which is going to be Curtis Blaydes versus Derek Lewis. Now, I'm already going to let you guys know there's only one person I'm taking in this fight, and that's Derek Lewis. Now, I understand that's the underdog, but I love Derek Lewis. He's a great heavyweight. He's a funny, energetic, always on social media, always having fun. Never know what he's going to say, but you can never count him out. And then the reason I'm taking Derek Lewis in this fight is because he's actually taking his fight game really serious, coming in a lot lighter weight. Seems to be pushing the pace. Now, does he have a ground game that's going to be able to hold up against Curtis Blaydes? No, but you cannot count Derek Lewis out because he has phenomenal knockout power that he takes from bell to bell. He will put you out, even if he has 5 seconds left on the card. He does not care. He will throw his hands like no other and try to put you out. He's also kind of an athletic heavyweight because he likes to throw weird angle kicks, likes to do jumping knees, jumping kicks, all kinds of stuff. So he usually catches you off guard. He's not a really easy readable fighter. Now with Curtis Blaydes, though, we already know what his game plan is going to be, and we know how Curtis Blaydes is. He don't give a crap about trying to make a fight exciting. He doesn't give a crap about anything. All he cares about is the dub and putting somebody on their back and wrestling them till there's no other, and he's able to ground and pound you out of there or submit you or just eke out the decision while staying on top of you. Now, how do I see it playing out is, of course, I just see Curtis Blaydes trying to come in there and double leg and put Derek Lewis on his back and try to tire him out. Now, can Derek Lewis power through the ground game and try to get off of his back? I would hope so. But knowing the type of wrestler Curtis Blaydes is, I don't see it happening. So let's hope that Derek Lewis can get that knockout shot in the first or second round. If not, and we see it going into the later rounds, I see a possible chance of just Curtis Blaydes taking the decision. Now, with all that being said, guys, that's pretty much all I got for you guys for the recap and the breakdown. So let's get to this little bit of fight news that I got. Now it's time for some fight news. Now, I only have a little bit of news for you guys this week, and there's a couple of things going on. First off, the biggest thing I have to talk about is Bellator announcing their Grand Prix for the light heavyweight division. Now, there's a ton of fighters that are going to be in this. You have Corey Anderson. You also have Lyoto Machida. You have Krylov, who's going to be in it. You also have the biggest match, which they're starting out the Grand Prix with, is going to be Anthony Rumble Johnson versus Yoel Romero. I cannot wait for this fight. Can you guys imagine the type of fight this could be with you having the knockout artist of Anthony Rumble Johnson versus the powerhouse Cuban wrestler, tough, freak of nature, Yoel Romero? Can't wait for the fight. Can't wait for the Grand Prix to start. That's going to be kicking off, I want to say, in April. Now, with all that, let's jump back into some UFC news. And the other thing going on is we already know Kamaru Usman is already lining up the next title shot, which is going to be Jorge Masvidal. Now, hold your horses. I understand. A lot of people are like, hey, well, why that match? Kamaru wants to give Jorge a chance and have a full fight camp to come and fight him so he can prove that he's still a dominant champion and he's better than Jorge Masvidal. Now, I do like that they're doing that matchup because they had now said that they have in talks Leon Edwards versus Colby Covington. I would love to see that match. I wouldn't mind at all seeing that match because of the kind of cardio and pace that Colby Covington brings and the speed and pinpoint accuracy that Leon Edwards brings. And also, he's never scared to go to the ground. Can't wait to see how that match plays out. And hopefully they all start to get that built up together. And then they start getting the welterweight division moving so we can see where we're going to be going the rest of this year. Other than that, guys, that's pretty much all I got. I don't have that much else going on, but make sure you stay tuned and stay watching the Fight Talk on the Filthy Report channel right here. And if, like I said before, guys, if this is your first time, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and do me a favor. Mash that like button so we can beat the YouTube algorithm and get the Filthy Report out there. Also, guys, if you don't know when my next episode is dropping, go ahead and hit that bell so you guys can know when the next Fight Talk is dropping, and also so you guys can find out about Let's Get Geeked. Till next time, guys, always remember, if nobody loves you, I love you. I am Jason Filthy Jones, bringing you the dirtiest information with the cleanest style. Peace.